Welcome everybody to the Fanmouth Daily Baseball Breakdown for April 8th. I'm Joe Marsh, joined today by Jeff Collins. How you doing, Jeff?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Got a big slate of games today, some good matchups. We're going to go through each game one by one. We're going to give you our breakdown by position. We're going to discuss who we like and who we think you should start. So we're going to start with pitchers. Who do you like today on the mound, Jeff?
Well, I think there's a couple obvious options, mostly for the later slate of games. I might not even be playing on the early slate because I don't like a whole lot there. But with Gio Gonzalez going later against Miami, I think that's a nice high price option. A guy that's going to get a lot of strikeouts and should end up getting the win there. I know Miami's played well to start the season off, but eventually I think that's going to die down. Gio pitches really well at home, so I like him. And then my number one guy is Eduardo Ventura, making his season debut today. Nice cheap player, guy who's going to get you a lot of strikeouts. I think in the minor leagues he was somewhere around 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't know if it's going to directly translate, but he should get you a good amount. And Tampa Bay strikes out a lot, at least with this early small season sample size. So I think those are the two directions I'm going to go with my pitchers.
Yeah, I'm with you on Gio Gonzalez. You mentioned Miami's offense. Their offensive output actually has been good up till this point, but I think it's kind of fool's gold. They've played Colorado and San Diego. Neither one of those teams features a top-line pitcher like Gonzalez. You also mentioned he's a lot better at home. His ERA is almost a full point lower. I think he's one of the top plays. I think Scherzer's a good play, but I would take Gonzalez. He's about $1,000 cheaper. I think he gives you just as much tonight. Mark Burley is a bit interesting for me. I was fading him his last start, and he made me look stupid. Pitched 8 2/3, struck out 11 on the road against Tampa Bay. Now he has the Astros at home. I know it's a huge risk. I will probably set one GPP lineup with him in tonight and just take a chance and spend a little bit more on hitters.
Yeah, I think Houston has a better chance than Miami of putting up decent offensive numbers, so I'm a little scared about that. And then, with Scherzer, he definitely scares me facing the Dodgers. They've shown at times, obviously, their potential, and obviously big things are expected of them this year. And eventually, that offense is really going to be a power horse, I think. Like you said, I think Gio's the better direction to go there. You can save some money by going with Gio, and I think the matchup is much better. Gio's at home, Max Scherzer's on the road. To me, it's no contest. There's no reason to take Scherzer over Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The home and road actually was a big deciding factor for me as well. I like Chris Archer too. I think he's a really good young pitcher. I think he's going to get better as the season goes on. He's only a decent play. The Royals really don't strike out a lot, even though they have sort of a weak offense. I think he's a decent play. I'll be watching that game today. That's the game I'm going to be watching just because I like watching Chris Archer pitch. What do you think at catcher?
Catcher, I think I'd be going with Will Rosario. I mean, it's so hard with catcher. We haven't seen the lineups yet, knowing who's actually going to be playing. But Rosario got the day off. I believe it was Saturday or Sunday, one of the days this weekend.
Saturday.
So yeah, he should be good to go. And obviously, he's got a lot of power. I don't think this is the day to punt the catcher position. Obviously, I talk about doing that a lot. But unless someone exciting comes out in the lineups today that is unexpected, I think I'm going to be paying and going with Rosario and maybe going with that Colorado stack that probably would have worked pretty well yesterday with Tulowitzki and Cargo both homering. So
That Colorado stack you didn't like?
yeah, I wasn't sure about that one. Well, we talked about the three-guy stack, and what's his name? The leadoff hitter didn't end up doing
Blackman
anything
didn't do much.
yeah, for the first time. So but still, the stack would have worked out.
Yeah. I'm with you on Rosario. I think that's a good play. I think Posey, as always, is a good play. Don't need to go into too much detail, but he's facing Cahill, and Cahill's off to a very rocky start. He's 0-2 with a 6.3 ERA. And the Giants are putting up a ton of runs. They're second in the league in scoring right now, and Posey's always right in the middle of it, whether he's driving in runs or scoring them himself. And he's not a guy you ever have to worry about home and road splits, left and right splits, but maybe a bit pricey today. So, yeah, Rosario might make a bit of a better play. Over at first base, I have a couple guys I like. Chris Davis, big lefty facing a weak right-hander at Yankee Stadium is a always a good play. Plus, Davis has 3 homers in 23 career at bats versus Ivan Nova. Um, I know that's kind of a small sample size, but I think the obvious play is Brandon Belt. I mean, I would save the money and start Belt. We talked about, trying to find guys who have a good shot of hitting homers, and Belt's power numbers have been awesome to start the year. And also, he's a streaky hitter, so he's going to hit for a while and then he's going to stink for a while. So you always want to start him while he's on a hot streak. And like I said, facing Cahill and he's at home, I think Belt's the play of the day for first base.
I'll agree with you there. I think there are two guys though that might be pretty obvious first basemen, and they're very similar. Two guys that absolutely crush right-handers, and the other guy I'm talking about is Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman again facing a right-hand pitcher today, and he's facing Cologne against the Mets. So a guy who's going to throw about 90% fastballs, right? I think Freddie Freeman's going to be able to get a hold of one of those and knock it out. I don't think Bartolo Colon. I mean, obviously, he had a lot of doubters last year, but I think this is finally the year where it's Bartolo Colon's going to show his age a little bit. So I think Freddie Freeman and Brandon Belt are the two good plays today. And luckily, one's an early slate guy, another's a late slate guy. So if you're playing on those sites with split games, and you're going to have to figure out a couple first basemen for today, then you're in good shape.
Yeah. What do you think about at second base?
Second base, I'm struggling with a little bit. I like Kipnis, but besides that, there's not a whole lot that I like. Obviously, Kipnis gets to face San Diego today, and I think he's in a pretty good spot, but I was hoping you could help me figure out a second baseman.
Yeah, Kipnis was a guy I loved yesterday because Erlin was pitching, but because the game was canceled, they skipped his start, and now they're starting Tyson Ross. Still not a bad play. I mean, San Diego has no good pitchers, plus Ross is a righty. I would go with Chase Utley if you have the money. I mean, he's on an absolute tear to start the season. Great WOBA today, and he's facing a mediocre right-hander in Kyle Lohse. That's not a real great pitcher there. For a cheaper guy, Bonifacio, he's on a tear to start the season. But as we talked about the other day, he's a good candidate for regression. He's hitting over 500 right now, and he's a guy who's not a career 300 hitter. So at some point, he's going to come back down to earth. But he is getting on base a lot, and he's stealing bases at a pretty high rate too. So if you're playing on a site that pays high for steals, I think he's a decent low-end second baseman.
Yeah, I think basically this is probably going to be the position I end up punting, going cheap here because there's no one I'm really excited about. And second base in general is a decent spot to punt. In general, I look at catcher, second base, shortstop as my first places to punt somewhere, and usually stack the outfield in the corners, of course, That's not like some groundbreaking new strategy. That's pretty standard. But, it looks like I'll probably wait to see who's in the lineups today and maybe go with a punt there. Jonathan Scope's another guy that's going to be in the Baltimore at Yankee game that should be pretty high scoring that, should be able to get some at-bats and maybe worth a look. But it's going to be one of those things where I wait till see who's in the lineups and hit maybe at the top of the order.
Yeah, I'm with you. In the early lineup that I set, I punted at second base, and I wanted to save some money to get some power in the outfield.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go.
All right, moving over to third base. What do you got?
Third base, Pedro Alvarez, I think, is a great play today. That's probably going to be the direction I go there. He has a ton of power. A lefty facing a righty, basically, and the splits are pretty strong. He had something like 29 out of 32 home runs against right-handers, something like that. So he has a ton of power, and it's a good matchup for him. And hopefully the wind's blowing out in Chicago today.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a good play. I think Miguel Cabrera, if you've got the money, I probably won't be spending that much. But I mean, he's the highest WOBA play of the day. He's facing Heron, and he kills right-handed pitching, and he's playing away from Detroit, which isn't the most friendly park. So I think Miguel Cabrera, if you can pony up the dough, is a really solid play. Shortstop, we talked about Tulowitzki. Got on board finally in the home run category yesterday, and he's playing at home facing a lefty in Quintana. I think he's a good play. If you want to go cheaper, which I probably will have to at shortstop, I think Alexi Ramirez is also playing at Coors Field, getting on base a lot, facing a weak left-hander, and I think this game should. I mean, if you're talking about two weak pitchers, this game could be high scoring on both sides. What do you think is short?
Well, I think the Alexi Ramirez call is great because he's basically right around the Jonathan VR price, and it's like if you have to choose between one of those guys, with Alexi being in Coors Field, it seems like a no-brainer to me. So that seems like a good direction to go. I think Troy Tulowitzki is almost a no-brainer. Like you have to find a way to get him in your lineup, being that he had a home run last night. That was the only thing that I was a little concerned about, not seeing much power from him. But now that he's shown that he's hitting them out, it might be a good time to go with Troy.
Yep. All right. Moving on to outfield. Now, you and I had talked the other day about trying to find guys that you think are going to stacking your lineups with some guys with the potential to hit a home run, because that's really what the sites pay for. If you find a guy that hits a home run, that's all you need out of one player in any given day. So there's a few guys that I think are just great candidates. The most obvious right now, I think, is Mark Trumbo. He's hit a homer in 4 straight games, and something I did not know, since 2011, only Miguel Cabrera and Jose Bautista have more home runs than Trumbo. So it's not just a small sample size to start the season. He's actually, putting up some great power numbers. He's playing in San Francisco, which isn't the best home run park, but one of his home runs this year came in San Francisco, and he's facing Hudson, so I think he's got a good possibility for a home run. Who else do you like in the outfield?
Yeah, his home run actually was against San Francisco, but not in San Francisco, which is a little bit different. Obviously hitting in Arizona, those are going to go out a little bit easier. So I don't really like Trumbo today because, like you said, it's tough to hit a home run at AT&T Park. Probably not going to go that direction. I like Dayan Viciedo. Viciedo's, again, in Coors Field. Common theme, right? Something we look to a lot. And he should be in the lineup today, facing a lefty, because he's kind of the guy that comes in there and faces the lefties for good reason. He crushes them. So being that he's in Coors Field, I think that he's going to be at a good value today, and that's a direction I'll go. And I think, again, I talked about punting second base, but I don't know, for what, considering I've found all these values in the outfield. But I think Alfonso Soriano, again, another guy that crushes lefties, is going to be in there, and he's actually starting to hit a little bit. I had recommended him earlier in the year where he was in the middle of like a 0 for 12 slump. That didn't work out so great, but the last couple of days he's got it going, and he's starting to get some RBIs, and hopefully he can show some power today. And like you talked about, getting guys that can hit home runs, this is a guy that can do that when he gets hot. So especially at New York, in new Yankee Stadium, I think he'll be able to knock one out.
Yeah, that's a bit risky. I'm not a big Soriano guy, but hopefully that works out for you. Another guy I like for a bit of a cheaper play is Melky Cabrera. He's been leading off for the Jays, hitting well. He's got 3 homers as well, and he'll be hitting from the right side of the plate today, where he's a bit of a better hitter. So I think Melky Cabrera is a good lower option. I think Gonzalez and Bautista, again, you got to pony up the money if you have it. But those guys are great candidates for home runs as well.
Good calls.
That's it. We've covered all the positions. You want to go ahead and sum up your lineup or your strategy for the day?
Sure. Well, I'll kind of go over the weather. It's pretty simple. There's not really much to worry about, it looks like. As of right now, it's a few hours before the morning game starts for us right now when we're filming this, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any weather concerns, which is really nice. Over-unders, what jumps out to me today, of course, is expected at the Chicago White Sox Colorado Rockies game. It's the biggest one. It's at 10. So anytime you get in double digits, it kind of pops out at you. And obviously, I've mentioned a few Rockies and White Sox today, and that's the reason why I want exposure to that game. I'm definitely going to have exposure to that game in cash games. But the Rangers Red Sox game, that's a 9.5 point spread. So don't scoff at that. You don't forget about maybe throwing a hitter or two in from one of those teams in your lineup. And then for tournaments today, obviously this is a big tournament. There's some big tournaments going on throughout the industry. Stacking lineups is going to be a big thing, and I think I'm going to go with something crazy, a little contrarian. One of the lowest over-unders of the day is the Marlins-Nationals game, where I talked about liking Gio Gonzalez and that Miami's going to regress a little bit. We talked about that. But I think going with some Nationals hitters here at home, guys like Bryce Harper, and stacking those guys in your lineup could be a good way to go because you're going to need a stack that's going to end up working out where your 1 through 4 hitters on one team end up all having really good games because hopefully 1 through 3 are on base when number 4 hits a home run. But you know what I mean. So that's kind of the direction I'm going to go there. Probably going to try to stack some Nationals tonight.
I like that. That's a bit of a bold play. But yeah, you talked about the over under in that game is 7, and the Nationals are like minus 180 right now. So I think that makes an awesome. That just tells you even more that Gonzalez is going to be a great play. Yeah, my strategy today is I'm trying to save a bit on pitching. I'm not going for the absolute highest tier on pitching and spending a bit on guys I think that can hit home runs today. Especially in the outfield. I think catcher and second base I won't be spending much at, but I will be spending on some powerful guys in the outfield.
Who's the one guy you think for sure is going to hit a home run today?
One guy I think for sure is going to hit a home run today.
Trumbo?
No, that's between Cargo and Joey Bats. I would probably go Bautista. What about you?
Again, going a little bit bold, I say Bryce Harper.
Oof, going way bold.
Yeah.
How's his price? His price is down a bit, right?
It's still up to the point where you're questioning yourself a little bit, but it's not,
He's still got the value in the name, even though he's not producing.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, that wraps it up. Jeff thinks Bryce Harper will hit a home run. I think Bautista's going to hit a home run. We'll see what happens today. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Take it easy.
How was that?